Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? You asked for it in the polls, and so you shall have it. The review of Ghost of the Badlands by Razorfist and GPrime85, aka George Alexopolous. This is a substantially sized book. It's printed on very sturdy paper. I think there was a color version of this. There might have been a hardcover version. I kind of had to go budget when I backed it last spring, but man, look at that detailed artwork. I'm going to be hyping this up a lot throughout this video. This is freaking amazing. I follow G Prime on Twitter, and he follows me back, so that's a flex. He's been really active in the political commentary cartoon area. I think the first one of his that I saw, I'll probably dig it up and pop it up right here, was from the 2020 election cycle when the Hunter Biden laptop story broke and big tech and big media aligned to quash the story and try to crush anybody who shared it, only for us to find out a few years later that no, like we were right, this is completely authentic, but hey, it did what it was supposed to do. But he had this brilliant cartoon here, and I noticed that he had several others before, and every time a news story broke, like he was very, very quick about putting out a very witty, biting commentary on it with excellent art to back it up. I notice this a lot with web cartoonists and stuff, that they either have a very, very strong concept with simple art, or they'll have good art, but the idea behind it isn't that strong. So getting one that's the best of both worlds is very rare, and I think he's a very unappreciated talent. He's been trying to get backed or verified on Twitter for like subscriptions or something for a long time now. Like it sucks that somebody of his talent level isn't able to monetize and reach an audience as broadly as he should, because he's just freaking incredible. It's why I've been following him this entire time. But I found out last spring that he and Razorfist were teaming up to do this book. I've seen some of Razorfist's videos, and he's a frequent guest over on Side Scrollers. I follow that show. Most of his takes pretty solid. His delivery method, I could take it or leave it. Uh, but his knowledge of pop culture, especially 20th century pop culture and the pulps and westerns and all that, is very, very solid. And you can tell that it was a contributing factor in making this book. So, as far as I understand, Razorfist did the writing, G Prime did all the art, and it was a little bit off schedule, but that's fine because the level of detail here is just mind blowing. So, he might be good at cranking out 4-panel comics very quickly after a news story breaks, but something like this would take a lot more time to put together in any extensive detail. I know I'm screwing up the angle here, but just take a look at that. The story starts out with a guy who's a member of a bad band of dudes out in the Badlands. It's set in the late 1800s. His nickname is Righty, and his band turns on him and they're about to kill him, but then the eponymous Ghost of the Badlands shows up, kills all the guys that are trying to kill him, and Righty doesn't immediately know why, but the ghost spares his life, gets him all patched up, taken back to civilization and stuff. I'm not going to stop showing you just the level of detail here. Like, I've only been doing digital art for about 5 years, and nowhere near as consistently and not with as many hours logged in it as George does. And even I, like looking at this, I can tell you it would take me an ungodly amount of time to get something like this put together. Just a single panel of this would take me so long. And the fact that he was able to get this turned around in a year with everything else that he's got going on is extremely impressive. Look at this night shot right here with the light values and the perspective and the grading and all of that. There are a couple of pieces I saw in here and just thought, like, man, if I tried to do this, I can name 10 things that I would immediately get wrong without having something like this to look at to improve on. I feel like there's even a difference with some of the grade of inks here. Like, look at this one with the two figures on it. Like, I feel like the ink used on the man upright and the Crow Indian down on the ground is a lot darker and heavier than the stuff used in the background. That's a matter of whatever the printer chose to do. I'm not sure how they layer all that stuff in the print files, but I could heap endless amounts of praise on the artwork for this. And especially, where's this scene here that I wanted to find? So you guys know that I grew up in Vegas. I grew up in the Southwest desert, and I did construction for a lot of my life. I did demolition, just going out into the middle of the desert and working under the heat all summer long. The way that he draws, even like, I wouldn't say simple landscapes, but just straight up landscapes like this train trestle bridge out in the middle of nowhere, like with nothing but pen and ink and cross hatching and stuff to give the light values. I look at this and it's like, man, I can feel how hot that desert is. I've worked in that desert. It's just nuts. So I'm just going to go on and on and on unless I stop myself about the quality of George's art. But now we get into the question of analyzing the visual elements of the story against the writing elements of the story. This is the first thing that I've ever read by Razorfist, but his chops with pulp and with Western elements come together in spades. And I think the story is just as strong as the art that's decorating all of it. So you got the Ghost of the Badlands, this guy that nobody knows who he is. He just travels around, and he administers justice to the wicked and second chances to the righteous. In this case, Righty, a guy who ironically lost his right arm in this conflict, is working towards redemption, and the ghost is giving him the resources to do it. Even though the story is called The Ghost of the Badlands, Righty is the main character of it. This is largely about his arc and how the ghost helps him. There are other people that he meets along the way that have tokens and stuff given to him by the ghost, and so he knows how to identify fellow travelers, people who have also found themselves involved with this man. The ghost pops up when needed, and he administers righteous vengeance, as people deserve it. But he's not the main character of the story. He's an instrument of it, and one used just tremendously well. Finding out the story as to why the ghost decided to spare Righty and give him this second chance, judge his character. Very moving, just fantastic. I cannot praise this book enough. And I was surprised at the size of this thing. I mean, this sucker's about the size of my head. And between the art and the story, like this is one that I could just pick up and I could thumb through in 30 minutes if I wanted to consume the story, or I could just sit there and stare at a page for 30 minutes if I wanted to consume the artwork. This is the kind of thing that I could look at, and if I studied it long enough, like my own artwork would get better looking at stuff like this. And this is, I mean, that's part of the reason why I've gotten more into comics over the last year, over the last couple of years, because finding the right stuff makes me better as a creator. You can see over my shoulder some stuff here, like this one here, this funny picture I drew with like Optimus and Godzilla and King Kong and stuff. Like I drew that in 2011. Wasn't that great. These ones here were from Sleepless Hollow, which I would have drawn in 2019. And then I've got stuff on the other wall over here. Like I know that I've gotten better. I've still got a long ways to go before I'm closer to the level of people that I would consider, kind of my heroes in this regard. But this is why I consume this kind of art. This is why I back this kind of art. This is why I pay premium crowdfunding money for this kind of art, because it deserves it. This is the stuff that deserves my money. For the cost of, albeit an inflated movie ticket and a bucket of popcorn, I can get this and have it forever. I don't know where you would get another copy of this. I don't know if George and Razor like printed off extra copies if there's an in-demand campaign or whatever. But I can only assume that based off the success of it, they're going to do a series, that there'll be more. Hopefully, if they do that, then you'll be able to like tack on back issues and stuff. But I really hope they keep it going. They've got a solid concept here. And as long as it remains a viable option for both of them, I would definitely read more. So that's my review of Ghost of the Badlands by Razorfist and George Alexopolous. Check it out and follow them on the socials and on YouTube and all that. Until next time, drive safe. See you out there.